Some journeys involve breathing different air, but then some stir a traveler's heart every time they're recalled, like waking from a dream that still lingers. For many, China is a land of myth, vast, ancient, distant, but to the traveler, the moment they set foot on its soil, that perception transforms entirely. It's not just a country, it's another world, a vivid, majestic, and mesmerizing natural masterpiece. Zhangjiajie, a dreamscape made real. The journey begins with a place that feels like it belongs only in the imagination, Zhangjiajie, where the mountains rise like pillars holding up the sky, and mist and stone blend into a surreal symphony. When the vehicle enters the mountainous region, travelers feel like they're drifting away from reality. Massive stone columns shoot skyward, clustered like a forest of towers against the gray-blue sky, as if Pandora has awakened in the human world. These slender rock pillars, draped in ancient moss and cloaked in white mist, leave visitors in awed silence. A cable car, the longest one they have ever ridden, stretching over 7 kilometers, carries them gradually up to the peak of Tianmen Mountain. Often called the Stairway to Heaven. Inside the cabin, the wind whistles, clouds drift past the glass windows, and towering cliffs slowly fall away beneath their feet. At the summit, the scene unfurls like a vision from legend. The Heaven's Gate, a colossal natural arch carved through the mountain, stands tall in the sky. Below, the 99 Bend Road looks no more than a thread of silver winding into the distance. But the adventure doesn't end there. Brave visitors take to the Zhangjiajie Glass Bridge, a feat of engineering and a test of nerves. Not for the faint of heart. Beneath the transparent floor lies a dizzying abyss. Above, an open sky. Each step quickens the heart and rewards with an unmatched panoramic view, where a sea of forested peaks stretches endlessly to the horizon. To travelers, Zhangjiajie is far more than a scenic destination. It's a profound encounter that touches the soul deeply, confronting visitors with a beauty that words alone cannot capture. Zhangjiajie, where time rests beneath a multicolored lake, leaving behind Zhangjiajie's dramatic cliffs and peaks. The journey continues northwest into Sichuan province, to a hidden valley called Zhangjiajie, often called Heaven on Earth. And truly, upon arriving, travelers begin to understand just how deeply nature can move the human spirit. The moment one enters the valley, Five Flower Lake comes into view. Crystal clear waters that shift in color from turquoise and sapphire to pale violet and golden amber. Fallen ancient trees lie still beneath the surface, astonishingly vivid, as if a forgotten world sleeps beneath the waves. Each step along the trails that meander past lakes, great and small, brings new surprises. Mirror Lake is so still that it perfectly reflects every treetop and passing cloud. Long Lake, over 3.000 meters above sea level, is surrounded by snow-capped peaks and old-growth forest. Nature here is neither boastful nor overwhelming, it is calm, gentle, and profound, as though one has entered a parallel world. As visitors approach New Orilong Waterfall, the sound of water crashing from nearly 20 meters high echoes like a call from the deep wilderness. Mist rises in a shimmering spray, cloaking the surrounding woods in a cool, fresh veil. Many travelers pause here, silent, not to speak, but to stand still, allowing their spirit to be cleansed by the untouched purity of the scene. Along the way, Tibetan communities continue to live scattered among the mountains. Tiny villages nestled in valleys, colorful prayer flags fluttering in the wind, warm smiles and gentle eyes. These human touches make Zhangjiajie not only beautiful because of its nature, but also because of the warmth of its people. In the opening days of this journey across China, the traveler had already set foot in two precious gems, Zhangjiajie, majestic, otherworldly, like something out of myth, and Zhangjiajie, gentle, dreamlike, like an ancient song whispered by the forest. Though these two places contrast in tone and spirit, they share one thing. They awaken love in the heart and an urge to stay. Perhaps forever, but the journey was far from over. Ahead lay names that stir the hearts of those who love to wander: Huangshen, Tibet, the ancient town of Lijiang, and more still. Each destination is a new chapter in the traveler's diary, written step by step, breath by breath, emotion by emotion. There are places one visits and soon forgets. And then there are places that, with just a glance, etch themselves into memory. After leaving the dreamlike Zhangjiajie and the mystical Zhangjiajie, the traveler continued eastward, toward the looming silhouettes of the Yellow Mountains, Huangshen. From there, the path would rise into the heavens of Tibet, then descend into the distant southern lands, where Lijiang lies cool. There are places one visits and soon forgets. And then there are places that, with just a glance, etch themselves into memory. After leaving the dreamlike Zhangjiajie and the mystical Zhangjiajie, the traveler continued eastward, toward the looming silhouettes of the Yellow Mountains, Huangshen. From there, the path would rise into the heavens of Tibet, then descend into the distant southern lands, where Lijiang lies quietly beneath snow-capped peaks, like a melody from time itself. Huangshen, where stone and cloud whisper to each other. It was a brisk morning when the traveler began the ascent along the stone paths leading to the summit of Huangshen. At first, nothing seemed extraordinary, only rough stone steps, sheer cliff faces on both sides, and breath growing heavier with every stride. But then, just around one bend, the world seemed to shift. Clouds began to appear, gliding lazily through the mountain crevices, then gradually engulfing the trail. Pine trees grew at impossible angles from the rocks, their roots clinging to the cliffs like clenched fists holding on for life. Time itself felt suspended, only the sound of the wind remained. And the beating of the traveler's heart, whether from awe or exhaustion, became impossible to distinguish. At the summit of Bright Peak, Guangmingdang, the sun pierced through the distance, brilliant gold, tearing through layers of mist. The sea of clouds, for which Wangshen is famed, stretched endlessly before them, vast, thick, and so beautiful it left one breathless. Jagged peaks rose from the white expanse like the prows of ships on a foggy sea. Each gust of wind pushed the clouds, tumbling and rolling like ocean waves, only to dissolve into the sky like mist. The traveler stood motionless, below their feet, perilous cliffs, in their ears, the gentle impact of clouds brushing stone, and before their eyes, a sky with no boundaries. There was no need for an explanation. No words could capture it. It was a beauty that silenced all thought, and invited only feeling. Tibet, the soul of the highlands. After days spent among the peaks of Wangshen, the traveler embarked on a long road to Tibet, where the sky feels higher, the wind blows stronger, and the soul grows inexplicably lighter. Lhasa greeted the traveler on a mild afternoon with a quiet, ancient dignity, amid the growing traces of modernity. The Potala Palace rises like a red and white fortress reaching toward the heavens, at once commanding and serene in a way that defies words. No one can pass by without turning back for a second glance. Every brick, every step of the Potala seems to hold the breath of time, the weight of faith, and the silent eternity of a belief carved deep into the mountains. The traveler climbs its steps, moving through hallways perfumed with incense, past golden statues that shimmer under flickering candlelight, each step drawing them closer to something beyond the ordinary, something sacred. On the road from Lhasa to Lake Namso, pilgrims appear. Some prostrate themselves in devotion, step by step, on gravel and stone. Others carry heavy bundles, sun-worn shoulders, eyes shining like stars. And then, the lake comes into view, and the traveler is struck speechless. Namso is unlike any other lake. Its waters are a deep, endless blue, vast as an ocean, yet still as a mirror to the sky. Surrounding it, the Nying Kuantangala Mountains stand cloaked in snow. Sky, earth, water, and ice become one, and anyone who stands among them feels small, but not diminished. Within that smallness lies an odd freedom, a calm that exists only in places that brush the edge of the sky. Lijiang, a moss-covered love song. The road from Tibet to Lijiang feels like a thread binding two worlds, one divine, the other a living fairy tale. As the traveler steps into Lijiang ancient town, it feels like an endless dream. Here, there are no skyscrapers, no blinding neon signs, only time-worn stone paths marked by countless feet, curving rooftops in Nashi architecture, and little streams winding past each century-old home. The breeze is soft. Bougainvillea blossoms bloom by wooden porches. Red lanterns flicker beside carved window panes. It's a gentle melody drifting through the heart of a traveler who has seen many wild landscapes. As dusk falls, Lijiang turns magical. Under a wash of warm yellow light, stone bridges reflect in the water. Soft melodies float from somewhere unseen, blending with quiet laughter and conversation over cups of tea and rice wine. No one hurries here. People sit, observe, and truly live. Artisans carve wood in slow, deliberate strokes. Elders tell folk tales. Lovers walk hand in hand through the night market. Lijiang doesn't overwhelm, it soothes. And in that stillness lies its power to keep travelers from ever wanting to leave. Closing one chapter, opening another dream. When leaving Lijiang, the traveler carries nothing but photographs and memories. And yet, something deeper remains. A piece of the soul transformed, touched by perfect beauty, attuned to the whispers of nature, immersed in timeless and pure stories. But the journey does not end. Ahead lies the Great Wall, calling like a hymn through time. The Mogao Caves, veiled in desert silence. The Yangtze River has still carved its path through 1,000 years of history. New stories await, written in words, but in the gaze, footsteps, and heartbeat of a traveler who never stops seeking beauty. The Great Wall, where time bows its head. Few monuments in human memory, such as the Great Wall of China, occupy the imagination. The traveler had heard countless tales of sleepless guards in the cold night, of hooves echoing across the stones, of Lady Mengjiang, whose tears brought down a section of the wall, but nothing compares to standing upon it. From Badaling, near Beijing, the stone steps begin their relentless ascent, testing strength and spirit. Each step is a quiet conversation with history. The wall is no longer pristine. Time has etched its mark into every block, but that only makes it more real. The traveler runs a hand across the rough stone, almost feeling the warmth of those who built it more than 2,000 years ago. The Great Wall, a sleeping dragon across the hills. The Great Wall winds its way over rolling hills, rising and falling like a dragon sleeping between heaven and earth. Standing atop a watchtower, the traveler gazes in both directions, only to see the wall stretching endlessly toward the horizon. The wind blows strongly, silence reigns. Crumbling sections overgrown with moss and deserted by time lend the scene a quiet solemnity. The traveler cannot help but wonder, how many generations have walked this path? How many lived and died so that each brick might remain? Here, one does not simply witness a wonder. One contemplates spirit, fortitude, and perhaps, they confront their invisible walls, the ones that must be climbed, crossed, and overcome. The Mogao Caves, temples carved from light and time. From the Great Wall, the journey continues west, into lands drier, farther, lonelier. The Gobi Desert stretches out like a silver silk sheet, and in a place where life seems impossible, a marvel emerges. The Mogao Caves, a treasure trove of stone, light, and the colors of an entire civilization. Arriving in Dunhuang, a historic Silk Road crossroads, the traveler is stunned. Who could have imagined that amid these arid winds and shifting sands lies a network of nearly 500 caves? Carved into cliff faces over 1.600 years ago? Each cave is a world of its own. Every wall and arched ceiling is adorned with Buddhist murals, tales from ancient scripture, celestial beings in flight, galloping warhorses, and more. Under dim guide lights, the colors seem to reawaken: jade green, cinnabar red, ochre gold, charcoal black, all preserved as if painted yesterday. Some caves hold towering Buddha statues, several stories high. Others are no larger than a space for one kneeling pilgrim. Yet all carry something that humbles, not fear, but awe. Awe at the wisdom, labor, and unshakable faith of those who came before. Standing in that sacred stillness, the traveler feels pulled back through time. Outside, only the rustling desert wind, but within the voices of anonymous artists, devoted worshippers, and an entire civilization whose brilliance still glows in the rock. Zhangjiajie, where the desert dreams in color. Not far from Dunhuang lies another unforgettable marvel, the Zhangjiajie Landform Geopark. If Mogao is memory, then Danja is a dream. Even from a distance, the fantastical colors of the mountains appear: brick red, burnt orange, streaks of gold, violet, white. They ripple in layers like waves, impossible to believe, yet completely real. No painting, no photo editing, just millions of years of sediment, sculpted by wind and rain. Golden light falls across the slopes at sunset, making them glow as if set aflame. The traveler is spellbound. Before them stands a giant canvas of nature, a shimmering ribbon stretched across the desert. Fusion, where sand, stone, and soul become one. This third chapter of the journey carries the traveler from the towering walls of ancient fortresses, across wind-blown deserts, into caves etched with the light of faith. No more green mountains, no murmuring streams, no paper lanterns of old towns. Here, there is only sand, stone, and wind, and yet, this starkness reveals something eternal, the enduring beauty of humanity, its belief, its vision, its craftsmanship, and its power to preserve and pass on stories through walls, carvings, and even silence. But the journey is still not done. Ahead lie waters that bend like verses, the Yangtze River, West Lake in Hangzhou, the fertile plains of Kunming, and riverside towns poetic enough to step right out of a Tang Dynasty poem. The Yangtze, lifeblood of a civilization. From the firm stone of the Great Wall, the traveler now stands before a wall of another kind, fluid and ever-moving, the Yangtze River. The longest river in Asia and the third longest in the world. The Yangtze is more than a geographical marvel. It is the backbone of Chinese civilization. The journey begins in Chengdu, then follows the river upstream through the three gorges, where the waters carve deep, narrow canyons, a romantic and ferocious landscape. Aboard a riverboat, drifting through mist and cliffs, the traveler feels as if passing through a living ink painting, black brushstrokes on gray parchment, with flickers of red from a fishing boat and the faint echo of a flute across the shore. The river flows through provinces, cities, and tiny riverside villages where locals still fetch water to brew tea, wash clothes, and rinse vegetables. It is not just water, it is a lifeline. And within its current, the traveler, too, feels carried, not just by water, but by the memories of an entire people. West Lake, the mirror of heaven in Hangzhou. If the Yangtze is an epic ballad, West Lake in Hangzhou is a quiet lyrical poem at dusk. When the traveler arrives in Hangzhou, once called the most beautiful city in the world by Marco Polo, the first thing to stir the heart is not the skyline, but the still waters of West Lake, nestled gently in the heart of the old city. West Lake, the lake of subtlety. West Lake isn't vast, but its elegance lies in the most minor details. The gracefully arched bridge leading to a small island, willow trees drooping toward the water like a maiden's hand, the soft morning mist veiling distant hills. As if inviting visitors into a dream, a traveler rents a bicycle and leisurely pedals around the lake, pausing at Leifeng Pagoda, where the bell's toll resonates over the water. They then glide by 3 pools mirroring the moon, 3 stone pagodas emerging like islands in the lake, by moonlight. The reflection shimmers like the Milky Way. As evening falls and the city lights ignite, West Lake remains still, capturing all that glitters in its mirrored depths. Here, there is no grandeur, instead, a quiet peace, perhaps, too, a small piece of oneself gently left behind. Li River, a poem in stone and water. From Hangzhou, the traveler journeys south to Guilin, which is celebrated as the most scenic region under heaven. If Guilin is a grand painting, then the Li River is its detailed verse, poetic, refined, and deeply intimate. Aboard a bamboo raft, the traveler drifts along the Li River, immortalized on China's 20 yuan note. Steep limestone peaks rise like jagged teeth along the banks, their reflections mirrored in jade-green waters. Each bend in the river offers a new scene: fields, grazing water buffalo, fishermen perched with cormorants, like an unfolding ink-washed painting brought to life. The traveler strolls along West Street at night, over 1.400 years old. Lanterns glow overhead, tea houses line the street, and the soft notes of the pipa drift through the air. There's a longing to linger in silence, to capture every moment, as if the lights and music might vanish when morning comes. Zhouzhuang and Zitang, memories flowing through waterways. Southeast of Shanghai, the traveler visits ancient riverside towns where time seems to stand still. Zhouzhuang and Zitang each offer unique charm, yet both embody classical China's timeless, poetic essence. Zhouzhuang, known as the Venice of the East, weaves narrow canals like a spider's web, stone arch bridges, and ancient houses fronting the water. A boat ride includes a folk song softly sung by the oarswoman, her voice light as air, while sunlight dances off old roof tiles. It feels not so much like a town, but a journey back through centuries. Zitang is livelier, bustling shops and laughter, but retains its ancient soul. As red lanterns light up narrow alleys at night and guzheng melodies echo over stone bridges, time seems to dissolve, past and present fade away, leaving only this moment, where wind, water, and the heartbeat of the traveler intertwine. Transition from flowing water to towering peaks. After days drifting beside rivers, through old towns and tranquil lakes, the traveler has soaked in the beauty of gentleness. Yet ahead lies a striking contrast: high snow-capped summits, vast grasslands, where the wind no longer caresses but roars like nature's grand symphony. Zhangjiajie revisited, when water dreams. Upon arriving at Zhangjiajie, the traveler realizes that green is not a singular hue but infinite in depth and variety. These lakes are not alone, they are mirror fragments of sky and time. Transparent, multi-hued, shifting with daylight, each name is a poem for Mirror Lake, Five Flower Lake, and Long Lake. Standing on their banks, you see forests submerged, the sky reflected on the surface, and sometimes yourself, small, silent, part of the scene. What astonishes most is the water's color, from translucent emerald to deep violet. From soft green to silvery haze, variations of depth, mineral content, and moss patterns play a part. The landscape is serene but alive, like a chamber music performance, gentle yet unforgettable. When snow cloaks surrounding mountains, and you watch flakes drift onto glassy lake water, it's as if two seasons meet in a rare moment. Here, water has a soul, and the traveler is a guest at nature's improvisation. Lijiang again, ancient town beneath snow. Leaving wild nature behind, the traveler returns to Lijiang ancient town, lying at the foot of Jade Dragon Snow Mountain. Beauty here does not lie in grandeur, but in the harmony of people, mountain, and time. Lijiang is ancient, yet not melancholic. Winding stone paths, moss-streaked wooden roofs, and gentle streams flowing through the town create a timeless folk melody of the Nashi people. Echoing through centuries, an early morning walk through mist brings you to a tea house by the canal, where the first rays of sun glimmer across gray tiles. Specks of light dance on clear water, transforming the scene into a vibrant ink painting. At night, red lanterns illuminate narrow lanes, and folk music drifts from small stages, turning the ancient town into a spellbinding dream. In the distance, the 5.596 meters tall Jade Dragon Snow Mountain stands sentinel. On clear days, the snow-white peak reflects in the water below. This place is not merely for sightseeing, it's where time seems to pause. The Shangri-La grasslands, a hidden paradise at the edge of the sky. Winding through the serpentine mountain roads of Yunnan, the traveler finally arrives in Shangri-La, the land James Hilton once imagined as a promised paradise in his novel Lost Horizon. And yet, that distant fantasy turns out to be real. The grasslands stretch endlessly here. The sky feels so high it touches the soul. Herds of yaks graze leisurely. Tibetan locals in embroidered robes walk past in trails of incense smoke rising from ancient Tibetan Buddhist monasteries. Standing in the vast field, the traveler gazes up at the sky, spotless, not a single cloud. Surrounding them is the scent of sunshine, earth, and a profound peace that stirs something deep inside. There are no digital sounds, no honking, no advertisements, only the wind rustling the grass, the tinkling of wind chimes from roadside wooden huts, and the soft chants of monks echoing from Songzanlin Monastery in the valley. In Shangri-La, no one rushes, no one needs to, and perhaps no one wants to. Because in paradise, haste has no place. Continuing, when the highlands are not the end. This journey has carried the traveler from snow-capped peaks to dreamy ancient towns. From mirror-like lakes to boundless meadows. Not just the highest leg of the trip in terms of elevation, but also the deepest in emotion, where beauty is no longer overwhelming but quiet, gently seeping in. Yet the portrait of China is still incomplete. There remain ancient eastern lands like Suzhou and Nanjing to explore, and majestic peaks like Huangshen where mists paint marvels in the sky. Not to mention the old town of Fenghuang, where the river flows through the memories of both the Han and Miao peoples. Suzhou, where time flows in a teacup. Upon arriving in Suzhou, the traveler doesn't feel astonishment but a peculiar lightness, as if they've entered a world where time moves more slowly. It moves at the pace of curved temple roofs, of fallen lotus petals, of wind whispering through silk curtains. Suzhou is famed for its classical gardens, indeed. Each one is more than architecture, it's a philosophy of living. The Lion Grove Garden is a labyrinth of rockeries. The Lingering Garden is serene as meditation. And the Master of the Net's garden reflects the moonlight off its pond like a living poem. The moon shines in the pond, unmoving, yet ever flowing. The breeze sweeps through the garden, unseen, yet ever heard. Walking through the gardens, the traveler sees latticed windows carved with ancient motifs. Zigzagging corridors like winding thoughts. And sometimes, an older man making tea, his hands trembling, but his eyes utterly calm. Suzhou does not flaunt itself. It whispers its beauty, and those who are patient enough will hear the harmony between scenery and soul. Nanjing, the ancient capital and echoes of time. From Suzhou, the traveler follows the Yangtze River downstream to Nanjing, the former capital of 6 dynasties, where every wall and tower bears witness to an age of glory and its eventual decline. Nanjing is a blend of classical elegance and a quiet romantic melancholy. Passing through the Grand Zhonghua Gate, one of China's best preserved ancient military structures, one still feels its formidable presence. Then, one walks beneath canopies of green and silence at the Sun Yat-Senator Mausoleum, the resting place of a founding father of modern China. En route to the presidential palace, the traveler senses an eerie stillness amidst the city's hustle. Something about Nanjing makes one pause, not out of sadness, but because of a subtle beauty that seeps into the stone paths underfoot. It is as if the city doesn't aim to impress with spectacle but with memory. Etched into its very foundation, Mount Huangshen, when clouds become poetry. Not far from Nanjing lies Huangshen, the most celebrated mountain in China. An endless muse for painters and poets alike. Climbing its steep stone steps through dense mist, what awaits above is more than a view, a moment of awakening. The peaks appear and disappear in the swirling fog. Ancient pine trees grow out from the cliffs, bending like bowing in welcome. Every step leads to a new realm, a sea of clouds and a crystal sky. Seasoned hikers often say, one hasn't seen the true beauty of China's mountains until they've seen Huangshen. At the bright summit peak, the traveler waits for sunrise. As the first light breaks over the ocean of clouds, the mountains glow in golden warmth. In that instant, all fatigue vanishes. There is nothing, only light, wind, and the profound feeling of being fully alive. Fenghuang Ancient Town, where the river whispers old tales. In the southern part of Hunan province lies Fenghuang Ancient Town, where the traveler senses the delicate fragility of memory. This little town nestles beside the Tuo River, with old wooden houses resting on stilts, their reflections shimmering in the gentle water. By day, one crosses the river on stone steps, watches Miao women drying hand-woven fabrics, and listens to the river's whispers between wooden beams. By night, the whole town glows red with lanterns. Folk songs echo from riverside taverns, and gentle incense smoke drifts through the air. Here, the atmosphere feels like an unfinished novel. The traveler becomes a nameless character with only a heart that begins to beat in rhythm with the town's quiet life. Fenghuang doesn't need noise to be beautiful, it simply flows, like the river that carries all the old stories away, guiding the way, returning to the sea and the desert. After immersing themselves in the slow rhythms of the east, the traveler begins to hear distant calls again, from the eastern coastline. The old city of Dalian, the sacred peaks of Mount Juha, and the sun-drenched deserts of the northwest. Qingdao, a seaside city with a European soul. The traveler arrives in Qingdao, a coastal city in Shandong province, and is instantly captivated by a fascinating contrast. On one side, the salty scent of the ocean; on the other, architectural relics of old Germany. Qingdao isn't noisy like other major cities, but its quiet charm is undeniable. Strolling along Zhangjiajie Pier, a wooden bridge stretching into the blue sea, the traveler watches the gentle waves lap against the rocks. In the distance, a solitary lighthouse stands proudly, like a poet quietly reciting verse to the vast ocean. Wandering through the old Badaguan district feels like stepping into a European corner in China. Red-roofed villas, blooming balconies, and pine-shaded streets welcome every step. The air here is so clean and tranquil that simply sipping a cold Tsingtao beer by the sea is enough to wash away all worries. The sea in Qingdao is not fierce, it's gentle, like a lyrical melody, just right to relax the soul after long days of adventure. Dalian, the northern gem on the Bohai Sea. Leaving Qingdao, the traveler heads northeast to Dalian, a port city where natural beauty and modern design harmoniously meet. Dalian is known for its sweeping coastlines, vast squares, and most of all, some of China's most scenic coastal roads. Binhai Road is most captivating. Snakes along over 30 kilometers of seaside cliffs and white beaches. Riding the tram down this route, the traveler is flanked by the Emerald Sea on one side and rustling pine forests on the other. The air is salty, but not heavy, light and free. Like a seagull's wings, Dalian also boasts coastal parks such as Labor Park, Star Beach Park, and Bangchuidao Island, each offering a unique vibe. From serene to lively, the city bursts into life in summer with beer festivals, music events, and street performances. When leaving Dalian, travelers often carry a bittersweet feeling, both exhilarated and nostalgic, because here, sea and city, nature and man, coexist perfectly. Mohe, China's mysterious northernmost point. Venturing further north, nearly brushing the Russian border, lies Mohe, the northernmost city in China. Here, the traveler doesn't just enter the country's coldest region, but also a place where the raw majesty of nature feels most profound. Winter in Mohe can plunge to -50 degrees Celsius, but it's precisely in that deep freeze that a rare phenomenon sometimes appears, the aurora borealis. One of the few places in Asia where it can be seen. In that dazzling moment, the traveler forgets the cold, overwhelmed by the universe's magic. By day, ancient forests are blanketed in snow. Roads become icy ribbons stretching into infinity. Villages of Han and Russian descent gleam in the bright chill. The Heilongjiang River, frozen solid in winter, becomes a natural skating rink reaching the horizon. Travelers don't come to Mohe for comfort. They stand at the edge of the map and hear nature's heartbeat in the silence of a snow-covered world. And that's something unforgettable. Dunhuang, where the desert sings beneath the moon. Leaving the frozen north behind, the traveler turns west, where the Gobi Desert begins to shimmer beneath the blazing sun. And there lies Dunhuang, a jewel of ancient times and surreal beauty nestled in the sand. The first stop, the Mogao Caves, over 700 Buddhist grottos adorned with thousands of murals and carvings, some dating back to the 4th century. In the dim light, lanterns casting a glow on gold-leafed walls, the traveler feels history whispering in their ear. As twilight descends, they emerge into the desert and find themselves at Crescent Lake, a crescent moon-shaped oasis in a sea of sand. Nearby, the Mingsha sand dunes sing as the wind passes, an eerie, enchanting melody made by the cranes. Riding a camel, their shadows stretched across golden dunes, the traveler feels a sweet solitude in this endless space. There are no buildings, no cars, no Wi-Fi, only the moon, the sand, and echoes of millennia etched into the earth. A meeting point, from sea to desert, from reality to poetry. Part 7 is a significant leg of the journey, where nature ceases to be something merely observed and instead becomes both a test of courage and a sanctuary for the wandering spirit. Whether the sea's gentle lullaby, the harsh grit of the desert wind, or the quiet wisdom of a snowy forest, each place offers a new way to understand beauty. Some soothe, some challenge, and some guide the traveler back to themselves. And now, the journey draws closer to a land long spoken of not just as a destination, but as a dream, hazy, sacred, and almost unreal. Tibet is not merely a highland, it is a living, breathing entity, where every mountain, field, and gust of wind carries the breath of gods and the passage of time. As the plane descends into Lhasa, the traveler senses the change instantly: thinner air, brighter light, and a slower rhythm of life, as if time itself flows differently here. The Potala Palace, perched atop Red Hill, rises like a fairy tale built from white stone and red roofs. Standing at the foot of its steep stairs, the traveler is overcome, not by altitude, but by reverence for its sacred grandeur. Climbing upward, breathless in the thin air, each step becomes deliberate, as the heart must work harder with each elevation. Inside, dim corridors, the faint scent of yak butter, and the soft ringing of ancient bells create a world where maps and plans no longer matter. The traveler lets go and allows this holy space to lead the way. As evening falls, Zhangjiajie Temple appears in the golden light of dusk, Surrounded by orderly crowds in Barkhor Square, pilgrims arrive from all corners of Tibet, some walking, some prostrating themselves over hundreds of kilometers to bow before the ancient Yovo statue. Watching them, the traveler feels deeply moved. Faith here requires no explanation, no declaration. It lives in their eyes, bows, and whispered chants, beating like a shared, eternal heart. A golden valley and a moment of grace. Returning from Kailash, the traveler stops in Gyantse Valley, where golden barley fields stretch endlessly beneath snow-capped peaks in the heart of autumn. Sunlight spills over the low rooftops behind hills, painting a vivid yet serene scene. In the distance, Halcho Monastery stands in stillness, like a lamp illuminating the passage of time, a witness to centuries of change. Here, the Tibetan air loses its harshness. It softens, becomes gentle, like a quiet touch upon the soul. Yamdrak Lake, a turquoise gem in the Himalayas. The final stop on this part of the journey is Yamdrak Lake, a jade-green jewel nestled among the Himalayas. From the top of Kambala Pass, the lake stretches like a living painting, bands of sapphire water winding through rolling mountains, reflecting a crystal-clear sky untouched by clouds. The traveler sits silently for hours, no photos, no words, just looking. And sometimes, that wordless stillness is what a lifetime needs most. This Tibetan chapter ends without fanfare or climax, but it lingers, like a monastery bell echoing through the mountains. The traveler does not leave as they arrive, not utterly transformed, but awakened quietly, profoundly. The sacred peaks, the holy lakes, the winds of the high plateau, none need to say anything. Their presence makes the soul feel lighter, calmer, and more complete. Into the southwest, between heaven and earth, the path now winds into the deep valleys and twisting mountain passes of China's southwest. On the road to Shangri-La, a land often called a paradise on earth, the traveler feels as if they've stepped out of a peaceful Tibetan dream and into a kaleidoscope of color and legend. The town lies between mountains, with red wooden houses, golden temple roofs, and fluttering prayer flags dancing in the wind. The air here is infused with Tibet's spirit and the Yi people's culture, blending into something familiar and otherworldly, as if one had walked before in another life. Not far from Shangri-La is Tiger Leaping Gorge, one of the deepest gorges in the world. Standing on the suspension bridge over the raging Jinsha River below, the traveler feels an overwhelming pull. As if drawn into the Earth's core, the water crashes in white torrents, scattering boulders like matchsticks, the force of millions of years at work. Amidst nature's roar, the traveler suddenly understands. Some places are not meant to be conquered, only felt to be alive, simply by standing still. Lijiang, a fairy tale carved in stone and time. Following the river's course, the traveler arrives in Lijiang, an ancient town that seems to have stepped out of a storybook. Every stone-paved alley, every curved roof tile bears the weight of time. Under the warm glow of lanterns spilling from wooden houses, people stroll softly, careful not to disturb the peace. Wooden bridges span gentle streams. Weeping willows brush the water's surface, and the distant sound of a guqin drifts from a tea house by the shore. Lijiang becomes a wordless melody, one you don't just hear, but feel in the quiet corners of your soul. Sitting by the lake with a hot cup of herbal tea, the traveler listens to stories of the Nashi people, a unique ethnic minority with the world's last remaining pictographic writing system. And in that moment, they realize that a place's beauty doesn't always lie in grand landmarks, but in the tiny things that make the heart tremble. Yuanyang, a living canvas of sky and soil. Leaving Lijiang, the traveler heads south to Yuanyang's rice terraces in Yunnan province, where nature and humanity have collaborated to craft a masterpiece stretching across the mountainside. During the flooding season, the terraces mirror the sky like thousands of connected mirrors, glowing orange, crimson, and violet at sunset. Dressed in brilliant traditional garments, the Hani people walk along narrow ridges, their laughter and calls echoing across the valley. The traveler becomes swept up in an endless festival of color and sound, where beauty is not about perfection but raw, genuine wonder. Zhangjiajie, a return to Eden. From Yunnan, the journey arcs northward into Sichuan province, land of giant pandas, fiery cuisine, and dramatic mountain landscapes. But the place that stirs the traveler's soul most is Zhangjiajie Valley, once dubbed a heavenly paradise on earth. Though scarred by earthquakes, Zhangjiajie remains ethereal, turquoise lakes clear as crystal, waterfalls cascading down cliffs like silk ribbons, and forests that change color each season. As the traveler walks the wooden paths over still waters, watching schools of fish glide beneath like scenes behind glass, a sense of purity fills every breath. Chengdu, where slowness is a virtue. In the final days of the journey, the traveler returns to Chengdu, a city known not for the wonders of nature or World Heritage sites, but for something simpler, the art of living slow. Here, they linger in lakeside teahouses, play chess with locals, and let the scent of spicy hot pot and the soulful sound of the erhu float by. In those moments, the traveler no longer feels like a visitor but someone who belongs. No camera needed, no check-ins required, only presence, and a willingness to be embraced by the city's warmth. Epilogue, a map unlike any other. And so, After nearly 3 months wandering across China, from the bamboo forests of Zhangjiajie to the cliffs of Huangshan, from the deserts of Inner Mongolia to the terraces of Yuanyang, from Zhuzhegao to the far reaches of Tibet, the traveler returns with a map written not on paper, but in the heart. These places are no longer mere coordinates, they are living memories, breaths, and heartbeats. It's no wonder China is called the land of vast diversity. For the traveler, it is not just wide in size, but deep in soul, a land where nature, culture, and humanity intertwine to weave endless legends. And so, our journey through the breathtaking wonders of China comes to a close. From towering mountains that kiss the clouds to silent rivers that have flowed through 1,000 years of history, every landscape felt like a living painting, leaving travelers in awe and wonder. If your heart skipped a beat at the beauty we've explored today, don't forget, yellow heart like this video to let me know you share the same passion for travel. Bell subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next incredible adventures. Speech balloon if you've ever been to these places. Comment below and share your story. I'd love to hear it from you. I'll see you again on our next journey, where beauty isn't just something to see, but something to feel, with all your senses and all your heart. But for now, may you always carry the fire of discovery within you. Goodbye, and see you next time.